Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are back, y'all. We are back for the Ready to Love Season 10 recap review. And of course, y'all know I've been gone. So I have missed episodes 4, episode 5, and I watched episode 6. So I'm not going to be going back and doing individual recaps on 4 and 5. What we're going to do is we just going to mix it all together and we're going to create ourselves a nice little pot of gumbo. We're going to talk about it all. And if I had to come up with a name for Ready to Love for all 3 episodes, I guess I would have to retitle it Ignoring the Red Flags. Because let me tell you something. I know they called it Dating on the Job, and they didn't call it a pool party and a block party and all these other kind of things. But I tell you what, once I started catching up on these cast members, I said, goodness, no wonder they're single. Are these people still out here dating like this because they don't know? Or are they out here dating like this because, like Sahara, people try to tell them, but they don't want to listen? Either way, they're going to have to make some changes. If they really want to get to where they want to get to, they're going to have to make some changes. And I don't know if they're ready to do the hard work, because right now they want to take the easy road, which is to ignore all these red flags. The flags are waving, y'all. They are really, really waving. But anyway, let's get started. Let's get started talking about it, because we got to talk about all the red flag people who went home. Coley went home. True went home. Looks like this episode they're about to send home Fritz. I think he definitely gonna go home. I don't know if Eddie's gonna go home. He's on the bottom, I believe. But we got to see about the Sahara is still living. Woo! Sahara is like a roach from that Section 8 motel apartment. You can't kill her. You can't kill her. You can't take her out. She just lives another day. But I think she got a little help from Cam. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I think there's a little bit of a plot conspiracy going on with Cam and his 2 ladies, which are Sahara and Rose, to all stay on the show to the end. That's what I think. But we're going to talk about it. But before we talk about it, I'm going to play my little introduction video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below on this video. And we'll come right back and start talking about these episodes 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we're back, y'all. We're back. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving a comment down below. I hear that this is going to be the last show until the summertime. We're going on hiatus. How Ready Love going to take a hiatus? First of all, they was late coming back. It took them over a year almost to even come back with season 10. And now we're on hiatus. It's like a barbecue someone invited you to. First of all, it started late, and then when you got there, the food ain't ready. This is some Negro stuff. But anyway, season 10, episode 4. We're going to start with that. Like I said, we're going to weave in other parts. Now, the part I want to point out that happened back in season 4, because I was getting reacclimated to these people. I don't forgot who they were after 2 weeks. I don't forgot their names, which tells you by the time summer comes around, I really going to forget them. I better keep my notes so I can remember who they are. But I remember Cisco, and Cisco was the first person to pop up on the screen. And this was the episode where they were going to have to introduce people to their home or their work. And Cisco was already afraid, because what Cisco was saying is, I'm not really sophisticated and I have problems opening up. He said he has a problem being outgoing, and he has a problem developing deeper and coming up with some good experiences. Oh, Cisco ain't nothing but muscle. And let me tell you, that whole head is just full of one big muscle. And later on, we find out that Cisco lives in transitional housing and don't have no car. And basically, he kind of said he's broke. Oh my goodness. Does he live in Chenise's transitional housing? Is that where they found this man? And here's the thing. Remember before I left and went on vacation, that was when we got introduced to Taye. And Taye was like top of the food chain on all the men. Everybody liked Taye. Taye. And I said, Taye is smart. She's pretty. She's nice. And I said 3 episodes ago, before I even went on vacation, for Taye to have these 3 things about her: smart, nice figure, nice, pretty. Why is she still out here single? And I said, more than likely, she got a bad picker. That's what I said. That's what I said. And it's proven to be true. Of all the men, Taye had the pick of the litter. Everyone liked Taye. And who does Taye pick? Cisco, the one that's living in a twin bed in transitional housing, that ain't got no car, divorced with no money, broke. Really? This is who you pick, Taye? I know later on we find out that Taye, she talks about how she has abandonment issues. But Taye, girl, if you listen to me, you need to stop dating. You need to absolutely stop dating until you get to the bottom of how your past is influencing your dating, because it doesn't really make sense for you to keep dating and selecting men because your picker is off. You see, it's not the men, it's you. And I suspect part of what's going on when I look at Taye and I look at how she's so superficial in dating the body of Cisco. And then on the other hand, even in this episode 6, she chooses Naim, the man with the 6 kids, for her even backup date. I said, girl, all these men here, these are the 2 that you chose because of looks. This is what I feel about Taye. Taye says she has abandonment issues, but what I believe Taye has is rejection issues. She's scared of rejection. And because she's scared of rejection, what she does is she goes for men in which she believes she will be the prize in the relationship. Because her thinking is that if the guy thinks I'm the prize, then he won't leave me, because he'll feel so lucky to have me that he'll always want to be with me and he won't leave me. So some could say it's a fear of abandonment, but it's also, if you rephrase it, it's a fear of rejection. And so what she does is she chooses men in which she feels she has the greatest chance that they will adore her and idolize her, so therefore they won't leave her. And as a result, what she's doing is she's on a slippery slope going down. Because what start to happen is, let's say she chooses man A because she thinks that man will adore her. When he doesn't adore her, she'll say to herself, oh, I need to pick a lesser man because that man was still above me and he didn't adore me and he cheated on me, he left me, he did all these other things. So then what she does is she actually starts to decrease the way she chooses men. She starts to go down. I'll tell you this, Taye, you are about to ruin it for yourself, because if there are a pack of men who like you, which is what's happened on Ready to Love, and they see that of all the men you've chosen the bottom of the barrel, which is Cisco. He's the bottom, girl. I hate to tell you he's the bottom. Let me tell you, the primary parts before anyone is ready to do anything is food, shelter, and clothing. That's it. Food, shelter, and clothing. Before a person can go on and do anything else in life, really elevate their life, they need this sort of stability: food, shelter, and clothing. If they don't have these 3, I'm not talking about fashionable clothes, I'm talking about stable housing. Cisco does not have stable housing. That has to be his first priority. His first priority cannot be pleasing and taking care of Taye. He's got to work on stabilizing his life. So for Taye to still be entertaining this man is ridiculous. And you see her struggling with it. And I kept saying, Taye, why are you not walking away? And another part of Taye, I think that's actually playing a part in this, is I think what Taye does with Cisco is when she first told Cisco that she was not interested in him, when she found out even more. Remember, Cisco first told her he was a cheater. She paused. This was before I went on vacation. She paused only for 30 seconds, and then she went right in and she forgave him. She let Cisco convince her that he had changed. And another thing that she let Cisco do is Cisco played on her emotional part and said, don't judge me from my past because that's in the past. And so what Taye was sort of struggling with was, I don't want to be judgmental. So it really became less about who Cisco was, sitting there right in front of her, really evaluating him. And it became more about Taye trying to be a woman who doesn't judge men, who's not judgmental, who's not overly critical, because that's a lot of things that they try to tell women. Hey, don't be so judgmental. And a lot of women don't know the difference between judging a person and being discerning. They're not the same. And I think Taye doesn't understand the difference between judging and discerning. Discerning means I can look at you, I can see that there are things going on in your life that are not compatible with mine, and I can choose not to enter into a relationship with you because I feel that the things that you're engaging in or doing are not beneficial to my life and they can be detrimental to my life. That's discerning. Judging that person would be like, oh, you're a horrible person. You don't deserve this. You're the scum of the earth. You're actually placing, an extra layer of judgment on that person. And Taye doesn't know the difference because she overlooked the first thing about Cisco when he told her he was a cheater. And this is one of the triggers of Taye. And now when he tells her he's homeless, okay? And people say, well, he's not really homeless. He's in temporary housing. That's where the homeless go, okay? It's temporary housing. It's transitional housing. It's whatever you want to call it. He then comes back to her and says, oh, I feel like you're slipping away because even though I was honest with you, he was playing on her sort of don't judge me over it. And then next thing you know, she said, well, yeah, I don't really want to do that, so I'll give you a chance. Wrong. Taye's about to get in a situation where she was at the top of the food chain. And what's going to happen is other guys are going to see her frolicking and hanging around Cisco, giving him attention as if she's interested. And what they're going to start doing, any good sensible man will, not every man, but a good sensible man will say, she's got poor judgment. And let me tell you something. Once a man decides that you have poor judgment, they then start to say, why would I want that woman with that poor judgment to be the mother of my children? Because that mother will pass along that poor judgment to my children and they won't want it for themselves. So they may still think you're pretty. They may still think you're attractive, but they will look at your judgment and they will say, your judgment is poor and I would not want that woman rearing my children. And that's where Taye is. Taye, girl, to turn her life around, Taye is going to need to go to therapy, figure this out, stop dating men who she feels are safe, who are going to idolize her. She also needs some polishing up. I'm not going to lie. Taye needs to be polished. She might need to go to something like a dating coach, sort of like a charm school. I saw some things in her that I thought, that is going to prevent you from getting more of that high caliber guy I think she wants. She was using words like looked it. I was like, looked it? Looked? That's along the same line as liked it, girl. And then she was kind of struggling with those chopsticks. And I noticed when she was struggling with those chopsticks, she was trying to teach Cisco. And I thought, is that the role you like, girl? You like to teach people when really you need to be taught yourself. So, Taye, you need to come off the dating market because you're doing more damage than good in your own dating life. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're doing more damage than good. It's too bad. It's too bad. And I couldn't believe that she chose Naim for her third date. When Tommy said date someone you wouldn't normally date, she dated Naim. And I guess she dated him because she felt why? Because he's got a lot of kids and she typically doesn't date men with a lot of kids. But in a lot of ways, she really is dating the same thing. She really wasn't that far out of her comfort zone. She thinks she was, but she wasn't. I tell you, Naim in this episode, he hosted a lot of people at his gym. Any of you guys watching my channel, you always know that I'm not a big fan of personal trainers and dating them. So you would know that I'm not a big fan of dating a gym owner. A gym owner? No wonder he got all them kids by various women. He said he'd been a gym owner for 7 years. Kudos to him for being able to keep a gym alive for 7 years. But nah, Naim is a nice person, and you could tell that he's kind of got a little bit of this Captain Save-A-Hole thing going on. He likes women that, and I'm not even gonna say women, men. He likes that role where he can mentor, build up. Probably comes from his his gym time where he likes to encourage people. I imagine that there are a lot of women that come in his gym. Sometimes they're suffering from weight issues, or maybe they have low self-esteem, and he helps them build their self-esteem by also building their strength in their body, their core. So I think Naim likes projects. He likes projects. He likes to take you from here to here, but it comes at the expense of himself, because I imagine that he has poured so much into other people that he hadn't poured enough into himself. And I think he told us that. So I would imagine of all those baby mamas that he's got in his past, they've all been projects. Because even on this show, the minute he found out that Kiera actually had a baby daddy that was coming out of prison, all of a sudden he liked Kiera, talking about, ooh, I like a woman with a little hood in her. I was like, that's why you all of a sudden like Kiera? At first, he didn't like Kiera that much because, remember, Kiera was coming off as his princess. Kiera came in here talking about she's a princess. She was talking about she didn't like Naim because he had too many children. We later found out that Kiera had 2 children of her own. I have no idea if they're by the same man. But she said she wanted the fairy tale life. And now we find out from Kiera that her fairy tale life must have been with someone doing something illegal, because he's about to get out of the joint. Girl, Kiera, you're going to have to reevaluate your strategy too. You're going to have to come up with a better dating story. I definitely wouldn't tell men. You're going to have to be truthful and tell them that the baby daddy's in prison and he's getting out. But I wouldn't add in there that he was a pro boxer too. Maybe Naim likes you now because maybe your ex baby daddy can come over and get some other prison man to the gym, and Naim can get some new subscriptions, gym subscriptions. I don't know. But it sure puts a new light on Kiera's story. Kiera was an only child, she told us. She said she was spoiled. She wants the fairy tale life. And then we come to find out she was dating a man who was doing something illegal. The fact that he got 6 years. 6 years. Where are all my attorneys? What could that man be in jail for 6 years? It can't be nothing like murder. That's too little bit of time. More than likely, it's some type of felony. Drugs, maybe. Selling drugs. It's the fast life. It's the fast life. And that goes along with who Kiera is coming off as she wanted that fast money. She does want to be a princess. She does want to be taken care of. But where she went wrong was she was willing to get with any man who was willing to provide her the fast life, and that man was making the money illegally. It was fast money. A pro boxer, fast money. He was probably doing other things to sort of supplement his income. So she's used to that fast money, and now it sounds like she's out here trying to date more of a straight-laced man. Well, he's not going to go for that. So her dating options are going to be limited for a number of things. So Kiera's going to have to rethink her dating strategy too, because she's a woman out here now with 2 kids. Like I said, we don't know if it's 2 different men or one man. She's got a man coming out of prison, a pro boxer, right? A man has to be able to deal with him and also deal with her 2 children. And then we see these previews coming up where she got some man sitting in front of her telling one of the other men that he's still in love with Kiera. I think Kiera is like the top of the food chain in the hood. You ever meet that girl, because Kiera's cute. She's a cute girl. And what I imagine Kiera did was she was a spoiled girl. She was cute. And what she did was she went over there and started dating thugs and criminals. And because she wasn't all the way hood, she was at a level above all the hood girls. Like, imagine Kiera going over to Sahara's neighborhood. Right? You see what I'm saying? Sierra lived on this side of town, Section 8 housing, and Kiera lived on the more ritzy side of town. But Kiera liked the bad boys. So what Kiera did, she was spoiled, as she said, by her daddy. And then what she did was she went over to the hood side of town where Sahara was, and all the guys in the hood like Kiera, because Kiera's sophisticated. So Kiera is like hood sophisticated because she went over there to the hood and got with them drug dealers and felony offense people. But that didn't get her nowhere. So now Kiera is trying to revert back to her origins, which were she came from a family in which her parents provided well for her, and she wants to go back to that. But the problem is her past is going to follow her. And as a result, she's going to be deemed not the prize anymore to the world she's trying to go back to. So, Kiera, I think your dating strategy is going to need to be a man from the hood that has been reformed, right? You're going to have to find a man that understands both of your worlds. He's going to have to understand the world in which you came from originally, because maybe that's where he is now. But he's going to have to not be afraid of those years you spent in the hood, right? Because a straight-laced man is not going to be, receptive to that, okay? Because straight-laced men spent their entire year trying to stay out of jail. We see the statistics, how many black men go to jail. So straight-laced men spent their entire lives not doing things illegally, staying out of jail, doing all the right things. And the last thing they're going to do is say, I was successful staying out of jail, building a life. And so now what you think I'm going to do is go to that life via you? Girl. So, Sierra, you might need to change the type of men you look for. And you might need to not reevaluate. She going to need to reevaluate. Naim says he likes you. Naim says he likes you, but I still would not recommend Naim for you because, like I said, Naim over at that gym with a lot of women that want to work out. And they don't just want to work out of their biceps and triceps and quads and glutes. They want to work out of their P thing. You heard Naim say that he had sex in the funeral home. He has sex amongst the dead. Let me tell you something. That's exotic, all right. That's exotic, a little bit creepy. And it ain't sexy though. That was weird and odd. That would not turn me on, not one bit. When they had another part where they all went to Cam's house. So Cam looked like he's stable. He's a firefighter. He got a nice house. He went over there. He hosted like a game playing night. And that's when they started playing all these different kind of games. And that's when we found out again, another person who has dabbled in the felony world. And that's Rocky. Boy, oh boy. When Rocky told us that she used to sell drugs in the streets of Philadelphia or wherever she was, I said, oh my goodness. I don't know if y'all remember, but before I left for vacation, I said Rocky reminded me of one of the ladies on Figueroa here in Los Angeles. And who knew I was so close? Who knew I was so close? Now, Rocky might say she sell drugs, but Rocky ain't told the full story. Rocky became, in my opinion, also a user of them. She became a user. Probably why she had to stop selling, because she was actually using up her own supply. But Rocky did more than sell them drugs. I don't did they go to Chenise's transitional housing facilities and find these people? Because Rocky could have been in one of them too. I ain't gonna lie. She could have been one of those facilities as well. But Rocky's another person where Rocky, I'm going to also suggest to you like some type of charm school. Do they still have charm school for women and for girls? They used to have them back in the day. They need to bring that back, but they need to update it. I mean, we don't need to be doing like no My Fair Lady, Bridgerton, and all that kind of stuff, but we need to do like real, practical decorum. Women have, somewhere along the way, women have forgotten or have not been taught how to just be a lady. You understand what I'm saying? Just how to be a lady, and especially in public. I mean, I'm on here all the time. I be using street language, ebonics. I don't be conjugating my verbs correctly. But I tell you what, I know how to switch my speech and speak correctly. And I know that when I'm in certain environments, I can show up a certain kind of way. Does that make me fake? No, it's not fake. It means that I'm versatile. That's what it means. It means that depending on my audience and if I want to be heard, I know how to tailor my speech so that whatever I'm speaking about can be heard by my audience. And people need to understand the difference between being fake and being versatile. And what I see in Rocky is she's not versatile. She really only got one way, which is the Figueroa way, right? And she needs to redo her outfits, her clothing, her hair, her speech, everything. She needs like a complete, somebody need to open up a charm school. Can somebody open up a charm school for these women? Because Rocky needs to sign up for it. Somebody need to give her 6 months free. And you know who else is going to need it? True. I know True got eliminated. She needed to get eliminated. True is a whole brand manager, and she manages her own brand horribly. Horribly. And the thing about True is I really think she thinks her stuff don't stink. Oh my goodness. She's so combative and she's so unaware of how she comes off. But yet I believe if she's handling other people's brands and she's successful, there's got to be something in True that makes other people employ her or hire her, which means I'm not quite sure why she hasn't figured out that she needs to get that same help for herself. Doctors can't heal themselves, and brand managers need other brand managers. True needs some coaching. She went home. She should have gone home. She was over here calling out Naim over the fact that he was a poor communicator. But I don't know why True believes she's a good communicator. She's a horrible communicator too. Just because you talking don't mean you're a good communicator. She's a horrible communicator. Let me tell you something. When you're speaking and people tune out from you, they don't want to listen to you, you're in a combative situation, that means your conversation is not good. So I guess I would tell True, yeah, you're speaking and you're talking, but you're not effective. So therefore, you couldn't be called a good communicator. I know they were all giving Fritz a hard time, calling him the copy and paste guy. Sahara was over here calling him to the carpet and saying, why are you a copy and paste guy? Why are you texting me the same thing every day? And that's because Fritz is not interested in any of these women on this show. None of them. He ain't interested in none of these women on the show. And I don't know what's all going on with this whole polygamy thing. We had a Coley who said she went on his Instagram, saw that he was liking and hashtagging polygamy sites. And when she confronted Fritz on it, he said, well, just because I like those sites or follow those sites, it doesn't mean that I want to be a polygamist. It just means that I was curious about it. Well, that's the first step. That's why these Instagram sites are called influencers, because what they do is if you come and watch my content, eventually I will influence you to want to do what I'm doing. So, whether or not Fritz is all the way there with polygamy now, I believe him when he says he hasn't dabbled in it. I believe him when he says It's not anything he has acted upon. I believe him when he says he hasn't fully made up his mind that that's what he would want for his life. The fact that he follows the sites and he finds it curious enough to follow the sites. I'm not talking about watching one Instagram reel. I'm talking about you follow it. That's enough to tell me that you have a strong curiosity, you have a strong interest, even though you might not have made up your mind or you may not have had the opportunity to do it. But Fritz has told us he likes to travel and he wants a woman who likes to travel. I suspect that through his traveling, Fritz has become one of these person who looks at things like a passport bro. That's what I think. I think Fritz is a passport bro because Fritz is not the best looking man, but Fritz has got a little bit of money. And I would imagine when he goes to places like Thailand and the Dominican Republic and these types of places, he throws a little bit of money around and he's able to date some pretty good looking women. And what Fritz is looking for is a woman in Thailand or the Dominican Republic and also a woman in the United States because he wants to be back and forth between different countries. And that's what appeals to him about the poly life. That's what appeals to him. So does it mean that he will go all the way? No, I'm not going to say that about him, but his interest is in the idea of living in two different countries. And does that mean a woman can live with him in those two different countries? Or does he need to have two different women in those two different countries? Whatever the case, it's enough for a woman to have a pause with him because it does mean that he's in the exploration stage. And if you're a woman that wouldn't be down with that whatsoever, then it would be right to sort of say, Fritz ain't for you. It would be right. But the part about Sahara Desert is I didn't like that Cam snitched and told Sahara of what Fritz was doing in the male vault. That was a weak move by Cam. But what that told me is Cam is orchestrating to make it towards the end. That's what I started to think. Remember when Cam first met Dianna and Dianna kind of took him down with her masculine energy? And Cam told us then that he wanted a more feminine woman. So Cam has told us he wanted a more feminine woman. He also told us earlier on, if y'all remember, that he actually isn't interested in getting married. He said marriage is not his goal. He wants to have fun. And he also told us he's not good at long-term relationships. This is who Cam told us he was. And so he's got red flags too. So when you see him interested in Rose and you also see him interested in Sahara, at first off, you could think, wow, those seem like two different women because Rose is coming off as this feminine woman. What I'm going to tell you though is Rose is not that woman she's presenting. Rose's actions do not match up with her speech. That's what I'm going to say. We're going to get to her. So Rose is over here playing a little game too. She's trying to become the woman she thinks men want, but yet she's really not that woman. And so her little thing is going to fall apart too. And Sahara is true to who she is. So what Cam, I believe, is doing is Cam is trying to get women who are going to vote for him. Because remember, Cam was almost going to get eliminated earlier on. And so Sahara was low-hanging fruit. No one really wanted to be with Sahara. So he said, let me get Sahara on my side and let me act as if I see this butterfly contained in this caterpillar because I'm a firefighter and I know how to rescue women and I can turn the situation around. This is what Cam is doing. Cam is giving me controlling because in a lot of ways, what Cam is doing, he's in a lot of ways manipulating Sahara to do his dirty work because his dirty work is to get rid of Fritz. His dirty work is to get rid of men, period, because he wants to be the last man standing. And so what he does is let me go over here and tell Sahara, the pit bull, of what Fritz said for her, because once I do that, I know I can get Sahara on his ass. Because when Sahara had the chance to pick a date to form a relationship with a guy, Sahara didn't pick a guy to form a relationship with. Sahara chose Fritz to take him down. See, Sahara is a real one. She's a real one. She said, you know what? I could get a guy to make him like me more, but what Sahara knew was none of these guys like me anyway. So I might as well use my power this week to take out a guy. She's becoming the foot soldier of Cam. And what Cam did was he set up Fritz. Now, Fritz laid the foundation with what he was doing in the vault. But what Cam is doing is he's doing it not only with Sahara, he did it with Rose too. Because when Rose also went after Fritz and said, the reason I don't like Fritz is because he's into surrogacy. I was like, what, girl? You act like into surrogacy is like you into polygamy. It's not really on the same level. And the fact that Rose has told us, remember, Rose is the woman that says she's highly spiritual. But when Cam told her, I don't believe in none of that. None of that. He told her, I don't believe in any of that. Organized religion, nothing. I said, then Rose, if you're highly religious, why are you still going after Cam? And what she says is, I just need you to believe in something. I was like, wait a minute. You're a Christian, a devout Christian, and you're saying the man you could be with can believe in anything? What if he believes in bestiality? Like, I could already tell that what Rose was saying and coming out of her mouth wasn't aligning with who she is. So the fact that she still started putting Cam at the top of her list when she told us that religion was so much at the forefront, I already had one eye on Rose. Then Rose was started to tell us about how she does whatever she needs to do to please her man. She was trying to present this sort of feminine person. We come to find out that Rose is another one with a man in prison. And I'm thinking, okay, Rose, some of these things ain't lining up. Then when you couple that with Rose's response to Fritz about surrogacy, I also said, Rose, you're not lining up. Then we find out that Rose tells us she's had multiple miscarriages. I want to say, Rose, what has been your form of birth control? Because you have not told us that you were married. And what are all these multiple see, I don't want to harp on the miscarriages because that's a tragedy. What I want to talk about are the multiple pregnancies. And I want to say, now that you're here and you've had multiple miscarriages and you're meeting men and they're asking you, I still want a child, and you tell them, well, I wouldn't want another woman to carry my baby, but I would adopt. Well, then another woman carried your baby. Which tells me the reason why that whole exchange with Fritz didn't make sense was because Rose was already intent on getting rid of Fritz because of her connection with Cam. Cam is manipulating Rose and Sahara to do his dirty work to get rid of men. I think there was another person on Ready to Love that used this strategy. I think it was, what was that guy's name that used the women to get rid of men? He would go back and he would tell women things that went on in the vault. And then those women would use that information to get rid of the man. I feel like that's what Cam is doing now. It's sort of a cowardly move. And when we saw him cower to Dianna and say, oh, you're so mean to me, and shrivel up and go away, even though I agree with him that I thought, Dianna was rude and abrasive, the way he handled her, I felt was somewhat of a weakened position. And now when I look at his strategy to use women as his mule to do his dirty work, I think that is a really weak move. It's a really, really weak move. So I think Fritz is going to go home. Fritz was even at this pool party. He hosted a pool party. And I think it was Angie who asked Fritz, is this your forever home? And he said, no, it's just temporary. So I guess basically Fritz is renting a home. It was probably an Airbnb location. Who knows where Fritz really lives? Fritz is walking around talking about he's a wealth advisor. But we need to find out if he really even had any wealth, because he might be wealthy over in the Dominican Republic or Thailand. But is he Philadelphia wealthy? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. I mean, during this episode too, you had Angie trying to be a wifey to Eddie. Eddie is not interested in Angie. And I know Angie later on is the one to sort of say she's not interested in Eddie because Eddie said he wanted a stay-at-home wife that cooks and cleans. First of all, Angie, it's so interesting when people say I'm rejecting him because, girl, you was going to get rejected. Angie's going to get rejected by a lot of men. I told you from the very beginning that Angie was going to give a lot of men pause because she's a bartender. She's a bartender, and most men, a lot of men are, not most, let me correct myself, a lot of men are going to be uncomfortable. And I don't want to use the word intimidated because a lot of women use the word intimidated, but it's not intimidation. What it is it's not comfortable for them. And what that means is they don't really want to stretch in that area. Intimidation is something completely different. They're uncomfortable with it, right? And all Angie is doing is fanning and fueling that part, because the image of a bartender is you're up late at night, you're working late at night in clubs, you're trying to get tips from men, so you're flirting with men, you're doing all that. Whether or not these stereotypes are right or they're wrong, these are stereotypes of bartenders, female bartenders. Now you couple that with Angie's stance that she wants to be friends with a bunch of men and her exes. Girl, go sit down. I think women need to think about, like, yeah, it's good to say what you want, but then what you have to ask yourself is what type of guy would go for what I'm selling. So Angie is selling a bartender life, lots of male friends. She can be best friends with her ex-male friends all the time. What type of guy would be interested in that type of a setup? And the type of guy that would be interested in that type of setup is a guy who also wants those same liberties. That's who's going to be interested. It's going to be a guy who wants the same liberties. So is Angie prepared to be with a man that has multiple girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, still his best friends, interaction with a lot of different women? Is she prepared to do that? I can't remember if Angie said she's been cheated on by a lot of men. I know Angie said that she was engaged to another guy. But a lot of these women have said that they've been cheated on by every man. I know Rose said that. But Angie's got to think about her package that she's presenting and what type of man would like her package. And I'm going to tell you it's not Eddie. And when she dismissed Eddie because of what she thought was misogyny and the fact that he wanted a stay-at-home wife or a woman that was going to cook and clean, he actually didn't say a stay-at-home wife, which is where I say that the opportunity was missed. Because if I'm dating Eddie, I'm out with Eddie, and Eddie tells me he wants a woman that's going to keep a clean house and a woman that's going to have a hot cooked meal when he comes home, just because I don't want to have that life as my full-time life, I'm not going to stop asking Eddie more questions, because before I make a judgment, this is the difference between judging and discerning. What Angie did was she made a judgment on Eddie without having all the information. That's a judgment. And discerning is that I heard what he said, and so now what I need to do is I need to ask more probing questions before I completely come to my conclusion. Because what I haven't heard anyone ask Eddie is, okay, so are you looking for a stay-at-home wife? Well, that's going to be her primary responsibilities, keeping the house clean, raising and rearing the children? Or are you looking for a woman that's going to do all that, plus work at a strenuous or demanding 9-to-5 job? What is it that you're offering? Because before you can actually completely judge Eddie, you would have to know what Eddie is offering. What if Eddie said, oh no, I do want a woman to keep the house clean, raise my children, but I'm not opposed to also bringing in some help. I'm also not opposed to being the primary sole provider. I'm also not opposed to being able to provide this woman with a more soft life, what these women talk about. There are a lot of women out here talking about they want the soft life, but I don't know if they're willing to do some of the things that takes to require that. Because a lot of women that are into the soft life, sometimes you go from being a housewife to now that your husband is doing well, and now that you have multiple children, then you bring in help to help you. Initially, maybe you are doing the cooking and the cleaning because you don't have any children, it's just you. You should be doing something. But then as your family expands and you have a child or you have two children, his business is growing, then what you do is you actually start adding staff to yourself too. So you can add a housekeeper, you can add a nanny. But a lot of women, they don't really ask the probing questions. They immediately eliminated Eddie, which I thought was wrong. I don't think that Eddie was interested in any of these women anyway. I really don't. I think initially maybe he looked at Coley, but once he figured out that Coley has nothing between her head, and not only does Coley not have anything between her two ears, she's rude, she's ditzy. The way she was dancing at this block party, all over men, she didn't even look like she had any rhythm. I mean, what a complete turnoff. I don't really know who wants to date Coley except men who might want to suck on those fake breasts she got. That's about it, Coley. Coley gonna really have to rethink her whole game plan too. She needs a dating coach too. Really. All that could be the sequel to Ready to Love. Dating coaches. What happened to Make a Move, y'all? Make a Move was about, helping these women with dating coaches. They need to bring back Make a Move because a lot of these ladies need dating coaches. All of them do. And that's when we started finding out more about Cisco living in transitional housing. And Taye still listened to him. Oh my goodness. And then he went over there and was crying on the shoulder of Naim. I tell you, Naim loves a broken person, whether it's a man or a woman. And when they went over there to hug, I think Cisco wanted to hug Naim a little bit longer than even Naim wanted to hug him. Naim needs a lot of support. I mean, not Naim. Cisco needs a lot of support. And when he started talking about he needs a woman to sort of encourage him or give him motivation, everybody needs to leave Cisco alone, period. I wouldn't even sleep with Cisco because Cisco is so emotionally draining and Cisco has so many emotional wounds that if you sleep with him, he might become like a stalker if he really likes you. Because the way he's torn up over Taye right now, and here's the thing, Taye's going to be so attracted to that. She's going to be attracted to this guy that's so torn up over her, almost like he can't live without her. He got to have her because it's going to make her believe, oh, this is the guy that's never going to leave me. But this guy is going to be so draining on her. I mean, goodness, Taye. I think Taye is going to really fall for Cisco. Something tells me I know she still is trying to also like Khalil. We haven't seen much of their interaction. So let's see if she is, because Khalil seems a little bit more like whole. We really haven't seen a lot from him. But if he shows any sort of weakness or vulnerability, then maybe Taye will go over there because Taye loves a man who needs her because she don't want to be left. Like I said, she calls it fear of abandonment. It's fear of rejection. It is absolutely fear of rejection. And Rocky ended up going home, which she should. And that sexual poetry she was reading, girl, that was not sexy. I don't know. Something happened to Rocky out here in the world. I don't know. Her neurons or something. There's some things ain't connecting with Rocky. Rocky got some disconnection. Some wires are disconnected with Rocky. You could just tell. You could really just tell. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Taye's gonna like Khalil. Khalil was the one that says he likes to eat ass. So, hey, does that turn you on, Taye? Does that turn you on? And Chenise, Chenise was another one that was trying to sort of push up on Fritz a little bit. She was kissing Fritz. Chenise, girl. I said it in the earlier episodes. I did not like the way that Chenise dressed. And Chenise was trying to present herself as this businesswoman, which she is. She seems like she's very successful. But I said then that I didn't quite understand the style of dress that Chenise was wearing. And later on, when we see her in sort of this nude environment, painting and uh, taking what's his name, Cisco, to nude painting, I thought, wow, girl, wow. I really don't like when people try to come up with some legitimate reason to sort of explain inappropriate behavior, because what Chenise did was inappropriate behavior. I don't have no problem with the lifestyle that you've chosen, but in this environment, it was inappropriate. Like I said, there's appropriate behavior for different places, but girl, you on national TV, you have exposed your breasts and your vajayjay. And so the fact that she went after Cisco, who lives in transitional housing, I'm now side-eyeing Chenise, who says she owns 7 transitional housing facilities. I'm side-eyeing her because I'm starting to believe, girl, do you prey on these men? Is this what you do? Prey on men who have come out of prison, who are weak, who are trying to build their lives back. And then what you do is you lure them in with your body, and then you wrap it in this sort of like it's a lifestyle just to cover up what you do. I think Chenise is such a businesswoman that now what she does is she tries to overcompensate for the sexy side. Like, I don't want men just to see me as a businesswoman. Remember, when Chenise first came here, she was leading with her career and all her accomplishments. And all the men told her, we want to know more about who you are. And now we got Chenise really ramping up, leading with her sexuality and her body. Chenise, I don't know where all this comes from, Chenise. You really need to explore this, but you are out of balance. You have swung from career all the way over to your body being naked in front of Cisco, who you're familiar with the Ciscos because you see them every single day and you know what they're looking for, because I would imagine a man like Cisco can bring a lot of women home, because a lot of women, when they hear he's living in a twin bed in transitional housing, they're not going to date Cisco. And so for you, these men are primed for the taking. And then what you do, you wrap it into saying you're into this new lifestyle. Okay, if you say so, Chenise, if you say so. But in this episode 5, this is when Coley went home, and Eddie had to deliver the news to her. Rocky went home too, says she's giving friend vibes. And Cam was happy because he getting a couple of votes from Sahara and from Rose. And he's keeping an eye on both of his soldiers, because when he was sitting over there hugged up with Rose on the front step of the Philly neighborhood, he was watching Sahara over there, making sure she's not trying to get too far away. Cam is controlling. I'm going to tell you that right now. The way he was staring at Sahara and the way he says he wants to break her down, right? He's controlling. I'm going to tell you right now, he absolutely is controlling. He wants Sahara and Rose to be his foot soldiers. That's what he wants. So yeah, Rocky went home. Coley went home. Dianna about to get herself put on the bottom, because Dianna, girl, not only Dianna are you big in stature, you are tough with your job, you're big in stature, and your personality and your demeanor is tough too. So I know you want to be softer, but girl, you're not doing a good job at it. You're not doing a good job. And the way that she confronts or calls out people is unnecessary. Dianna suffers from having an opinion and then always voicing it. You don't have to say things, Dianna, because then what that does is, it comes off as judgmental. Because when she was on that date with Hussein, and Hussein felt he was a good communicator, and Dianna says, well, I don't think you are, because I think you're the type of person that lets things linger. Girl, you didn't have to say that. What you could have done is, if you want to explore your initial thought, you could have asked questions. You could have said, really? So What makes you a good communicator? What are some things you do that you feel makes you a good communicator? You could have asked more questions, curiosity, but what Dianna did is she went straight to conclusion and straight to judgment. That's a turnoff because nobody wants to be summed up and judged in 2 minutes. How the hell? You don't know me. You've never even communicated with me. How do you know I'm a poor communicator? What are you going off of? Even if Dianna has good discernment, she still needs to explore that before she comes to a conclusion, and she doesn't do that. She likes to sort of dominate men. She does. She wants to be soft, but Dianna likes to dominate. Even when they went horseback riding, she specifically chose the larger horse so that Hussein, who was taller than her, ain't Hussein like 6'4" or something, could be on a smaller horse. She a ball buster. Dianna is a ball buster, and she not so cute anymore to me. She really isn't. When Hussein was telling her he would want a woman who would check in throughout the day, call, and Dianna says, I ain't got no time to check in. I'm a firefighter out here saving lives. First of all, girl, firefighters are not putting out fires 24/7. Y'all only work like what, 14 days on, 10 days off, first of all. Second of all, you guys got a lot of downtime. I see it. Y'all be going to the grocery store. Y'all be going to lunch. Y'all be sitting around the firehouse waiting for a call. All this man was asking you to do is that in a 24-hour period to check in, call, or text. And Dianna acted like she was asking him to fly to the moon. And she was so not open to it because what she was doing is she wanted to prove how important her job was. First of all, Dianna, you told us earlier that you train cadets now. That's what you said to Cam last time, that, oh, I'm now a trainer. I train cadets. So you, more than any firefighter, should probably have even more time to be able to send a text to your man. So it wasn't about that you're so busy, Dianna. What it was about is that you're inflexible and you don't want to be told what to do. That's what it came off as. You don't want to be told what to do. You don't want any requirements of you. And what you use was how important your job is. Girl, doctors save lives too. There's a lot of people that have important jobs, but you should be able to have an hour or a moment in your day whereby you could text your spouse. Because if you're telling me, if I'm a man, I'm looking at you and saying, you don't have time to communicate with me. Well, what happens if we have children? You don't have time to communicate with your children either? Girl, get out of here, Dianna. Dianna ain't ready either. Dianna is ready for a man that can be there waiting for her while she's out being a firefighter. So, but then she's going to think that man is weak. That's what she's going to be thinking of. So she says she wants a man where his first priority is work, just like her priority is work. Well, how's that going to work? Because then what you're going to expect is that when you're off, Dianna, and you got that free time, you're going to expect him to be free because that's when you're going to want to be with him. But what he's going to be like was, I'm busy. I'm busy. So really what you want is you want a man on a shelf. You want a man to be available when you want him available, but when you're busy, you want him to be busy. That's what you want. You don't really want a man that's busy all the time or work comes first. You want a man whereby you come first when you're ready, but when you're busy, you don't want him nowhere around and you want him to be out there working. Girl. Like I said, people need to think about what they're asking and who would sign up for that. Who would sign up for Dianna's deal? What type of man would want to be with Dianna? And she's got to think about that because she might need to change her offer. She really might need to change her offer. But they realized they weren't compatible. And you know what? I actually admired Hussein for saying it out loud. We just not compatible. Not at all. I know there was a moment when Rose and Hussein bonded when they went out on their little date. And that's when we found out Hussein was also in a group home 13 to college. Was he in Chenise's group home too? Did they go to halfway houses, transitional housing, and group homes to find all these people? Did they look in the files and look up Hussein too? This is an enormous amount of people that have some sort of affiliation to either being homeless, group home, transitional homes, drugs, and prison. There's a theme. There is a theme here, and it ain't a good one. Let me tell you right now, it is not a good one. But they bonded over that. I guess is what's it called? Trauma bonding. But Rose ain't gonna do well with Hussein because Rose is coming off as if she's like a really open person, but you could tell that Rose um, is actually a strong-minded woman in the way that she already has sort of what she thinks, and what she's open to is she's open to changing your mind. So we ended up with Fritz on the bottom, and I think Eddie on the bottom. And I don't know if this is a double elimination or if they're only going to send one person home, but if it's only one person going home, then Fritz is going to go home. I don't think it's going to be a double elimination because I think before they said they had too many women. So I suspect that the person going home is going to be Fritz. But who cares? Because now we find out that we're going on hiatus. We're going on hiatus. So that's why I did a long video, because y'all got, I don't know, 4 months to watch this video. 4 months, but don't take 4 months to like the video. Don't take 4 months to subscribe, because I'm going to come up with another show to watch. And I'm thinking about doing Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm thinking about it because I haven't watched it in a long time, and I hear they have a whole new cast. And so I'm thinking about starting it from the beginning. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not really interested in doing some of those other shows anymore. So we shall see. But be sure to come back and pop in and check out my channel once I decide what I'm going to do. And hopefully you guys can watch with me. Alrighty, that's it, y'all. Talk to you later. Bye.